and he was out for the night. Left, right, left, right, left, right, and he was out for the night. Left, right, left, right, left, right, and he was out for the night. Left, right, left, right, left, right, and he was out for the night. Left, right, left, right, left, right, and he was out for the night.
Jedi Master, he says there's a huge difference between Fury and Price's career. Fury turned pro around 20 and Price turned pro when he was near 30. After he got knocked out in the Olympics, I know that Price stayed amateur for so long because he knew he was chinny, lacked confidence and stamina. The pro game didn't suit him without headgear and 18-ounce gloves. The only real things Fury and Price have in common is they are both giant men who box. When it comes to boxing, they are on different planets. One was born and bred to be a heavyweight world champion, and the other is a plumber from Liverpool whose right hand is like a sledgehammer. I don't agree with that totally. David Price did make improvements from an amateur to a pro. He was sitting on his punches better, and a lot of the people in the gym, they noticed it too. You say he was near 30. Nah, he was 26 when he turned pro. It's not really near 30. I think the difference between Price and Tyson Fury was when Tyson Fury hooked up with Peter Fury and they avoided the Price fight and they worked on their boxing rather than looking to be forced into any particular fights they weren't comfortable with. That was a very pivotal move and the correct move in hindsight for Tyson Fury's career. Tony Thompson called out Tyson Fury straight after he beat David Price, and there's a chance that that version of Tony Thompson may well have defeated Tyson Fury. But they weren't going to go that route. They saw what happened to David Price. It wasn't worth it. So matchmaking, career decisions, I won't call it luck. These are judgment calls, are the difference between the two. JB Mash, he says, people forget that Price was UK's golden boy when he was coming up. He wasn't as big as AJ, but he was seen as the man who Britain could send to challenge Klitschko. I remember a documentary of Price where people like Bunce were talking like Price was the second coming. Exactly, JB Mash. In hindsight and reflection, we have to look at it like perhaps they overvalued and overhyped David Price too much and pushed him in against Tony Thompson, whose last fight was against the top man in the division, and that was the L. Like, go look at Tony Thompson's record. He's fought and beat some good names. His only two losses are to Vladimir Klitschko. If Fury had fought Tony Thompson around the time when David Price had fought him, that would have been leagues above anything Fury had fought up till then in his pro career. Tougher than Steve Cunningham at heavyweight, in my opinion. Let's not get it twisted. Talent is one thing. Punch resistance, punch power, all these attributes, speed, are one thing to talk about. Timing and matchmaking are critical in developing a prospect into a champion. Copy 09. Maidana was unknown in the UK to a casual audience, plus time of day or night explains the numbers. He's replying to where I asked how can Hay and Harrison do more numbers than Madonna and Khan. He goes on to comment again. He says, I remember Hearn when he first took over the Sky contract saying there would be no pay-per-view and pay-per-view was dead in the UK. Then a few years later, Froch versus Kessler is on pay-per-view. Don't forget, Froch versus Bute was not on pay-per-view. No, it wasn't. Froch was just coming off the loss to Andre Ward. And I'm not sure if he was an underdog with the bookies. I think he was an underdog, I think a lot of people favoured Bute to beat Froch. But, it was pretty much make or break for Carl Froch. Then after that, that flipped the fortunes of UK boxing around. It really did. That fight there and that win by Froch. Froch versus Bute was one of them fights that Jeff Powell was talking about. From the backlash from Hay and Klitschko. That Froch wasn't able to utilize his talents on pay-per-view because of the backlash of Hay and Klitschko. That was one of them fights. NH28 replies to Coppin 09. He says, classic Eddie Hearn. Yes, indeed, when he could have got Froch disqualified. And he ran in the ring after Froch stopped Butte. OG says, sounds like the same things he said about the Zone now. How long before that gets pay-per-view? I'm not sure what that's in reference to, what he's saying there, OG, but cool. Bailey Black, he says, brilliant. I like it when you pick topics like that and go through the history to show how what we think today wasn't always the case in the past. Appreciate it, Bailey Black. That's what I'm trying to achieve. Glad you appreciate it. Attila the Hun Zero, he says, Price is tall and strong, but not made of the right stuff to become champion. Actually, Stavern won the vacated WBC belt against Chris Arreola, Wilder defeated the short-lived WBC champion Stavern. Appreciated that. Yes, that was an error on my behalf on the video, and I stand corrected. Timothy Thomas, he says, Beats, question, is which of the pair have fought the most bums? Out of Fury and David Price? I don't know, I'm going to have to do a count. I have to do a head count one day. Crazy D3 says, Fury should have fought Price during his comeback in 2018. That was probably the last acceptable time for both guys to have fought each other. You're probably right, and David Price did call for the fight. Timothy Thomas, he says, Beats, really enjoyed this fascinating rendition of the past and present of Fury, and David Price is right. Appreciate it, Timothy. Tahaka Tassetti, he says, so Pricey, losing turned Frank into a transsexual? Question mark. Laughing out loud. Great commentary, King. Big up Tahaka. Big up, big up, big up. John Dunleavy, he says, big up Beats. I always tell people Price was looked at as the heir to the Klitschko throne, and how people, including myself, didn't see Fury last in 6 rounds. My mates are like, no way, not a chance, Price is shit. I told him Fury ran for his life, but nobody believes me. I'm not afraid to say it, and I'm going to say it big and bold, and I don't care what the reaction. In 2012, I picked David Price to beat Tyson Fury. Cell TV Productions, he says, this was good work. Appreciate the details and timelines of both fighters. Quality content. Much appreciated, Cell TV. Much appreciated. J Zone, he says, great summary of chalk and cheese. An interesting case for Lineal via Vitali. And that Nandrolone thing. Public love covers a multitude of sins. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. MDJ says, would be great to see you do a similar upload on Groves and DeGale career paths. Yeah, it could be very interesting. I've got a few British specials planned. That one there you suggested could be one of them. Lloyd Crooks, he says, great video, love the history of Nuggets. I remember not being impressed by Fury at the time. Not many were, Lloyd. Not many were. D-Jax, great video. That clip of Fury is still hilarious. That's when you can see the bipolar kicking in hard there, bro. I'm not laughing at bipolar anyway, by the way. But here's what it is. NH28. Price lost to Thompson in the rematch, sent Frank Maloney insane. His post-fight interview was the start. Yes, indeed. It just flipped Frank Maloney. I think Frank took it harder than David Price. Robert Straw. He was so embarrassed he changed genders. Crazy. It was a bit of a stressful period for Frank Maloney. Now, how it changed him into a woman, I don't know. But you got to remember, Darren Sutherland, who he signed from the amateurs, was a top British prospect. He committed suicide just a few years previously. Age 26 after a few pro fights. Olympic bronze medalist in Beijing. He was struggling with the stresses of moving from Ireland to London. He hung himself. And Frank, he took it hard. Had a heart attack. And Frank Maloney, I believe, became very vulnerable from that point on. Sutherland was obviously having doubts about his career at the time. And it's been implied that he was a bit afraid of approaching Frank Maloney about it because obviously Frank had invested into his career and whatnot. And I'll say no more for now. 2018. I've got to disagree with what Jeff Powell said about the heavyweight division thriving at the time of Hay Klitschko. It really wasn't. Well, he was talking about the Klitschkos. He wasn't talking about Hay. And it was thriving if he was in Germany or the Ukraine. It might not be thriving in your location of the world where the Klitschkos weren't popular, but in Germany and other locations in Europe, it was thriving. A lot of the Soviet states, Eastern Europe and around Europe, Klitschkos were the dudes. Whether some Americans or other Europeans or Asians or Latinos don't accept that, that's the truth. That was the truth. Klitschkos were huge. They were the shit to a sizable demographic of boxing fans on the planet, whether people like it or not. Ian Ward, he says, fantastic history video beats. I really enjoyed it. Who do you think would have won if they had fought in their primes? Beterbiev versus Adonis Stevenson. I'll go for Adonis. Timothy Thomas, he says, Frank Femoloni. Kama, he says, nice vid. Hay was full champ. Regular super came in when he fought Klitschko. I always make that same error with the Klitschko and David Hay fight. I always seem to have it in my mind that Klitschko had the WBA belt and David Hay had a lower tier belt. And a few people pointed it out in the comment section of the last video I did, Tyson Fury and David Price, the contrasting tales of two British heavyweights. The reason why I keep messing it up is because I remember the Shagayev-Klitschko fight. And as far as I was concerned, it was a unification fight. And I think a lot of people saw it that way. Shagayev beat Valuev for the WBA belt. He had to withdraw from the rematch and pulled out again. They made him champion in recess. And when he fought Vlad, he never lost a belt in the ring. So to me, it was a unification. I always saw it as a unification. So I always make the mistake that Vlad had the WBA belt. And as far as I was concerned, it was a unification. Okay, David Hay won the vacant belt from Valuev, who Shagayev was supposed to rematch after he beat him. But as far as I was concerned, the way I look at boxing, Vlad had as much of a claim, more of a claim to that WBA belt than David Hay. So that's the mistake I keep making. Shagayev had hepatitis. That's one of the reasons he kept pulling out against Valuev. But Vlad said he was immunized against hepatitis. He didn't care. But technically, Vlad was elevated to super champion after he beat David Hay. Johnny B says, Jesus, how time flies. Cheers. Oh, no doubt. Yes, time flies. Rockstar 1996, he says, I have to say it. Have you ever considered writing a book? Yeah, I have actually. I have, but I haven't decided or I haven't got around to doing it. But yeah, I have considered it. The Inventor, he says, Pricey needs to retire now. Besides, the tourist board on Easter Island are missing him. Great vid beats. Sprog11, he says, great video beats. I could listen to the career perspective format all day. Can't wait for when in a few years' time when we can look at all the top heavyweights' careers and see who the greatest of the generation is. History is written by the winners, not the delusional fanboys. Great point. Veranda, excellent summary of recent heavyweight history beats. Thank you, Veranda. Women's health and fitness beats. What happened to the De La Hoya video? Yeah, I was trying to reshape it and rethink it and remold it. I'll try and get back to it. I will try and get back to it. The Outlaw, he points to 12:10 in the video, where I impersonate the Price fans when they thought he could brush Mike Tyson aside, or anyone you could mention, historically or modern. They were having a field day. Charles Golding, great video, most underrated boxing commentary on YouTube. That's big praise. I appreciate it, and I'm going to work hard not to let you guys down. OG says, great video as always, beats. Big yourself up. Thank you, OG. Thank you. Much appreciated, people. Janjua, he says, Price and Dubois is a good fight. Is it? It could be. Libra Royal, he says, brilliant video, beats. Thank you, Libra. Timothy Thomas, beats. I believe Hay did believe he could beat Klitschko, but did not understand how difficult it would be to get past the man mountains jab, grab and lean. This took most of the strength and gusto out of David's legs. Price was far too straight up and down and British Queensberry style for the well old-schooled American savvy of Tony Thompson. Tyson Fury to this day is conning the public. Big up Timothy Thomas. Yeah, I think Price did underestimate Vladimir. He didn't realize how big he is or how strong or how good that jab was. People used to say he was big and stiff. I think David underestimated how well he moved around the ring for a big man as well. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and Fury has pulled a few cons on the public as well. No doubt about that. Good fighter, but yes, I agree. LML 147. When David Haye had the WBA world title, there was only one WBA world title, which was made into the super belt for the fight with Vladimir. Sticks DM, he says, fantastic vid, bro. Much appreciated, Sticks. Amadi Chima says, big up, bro. Thank you. Ricky hit me. Didn't Haye versus Harrison introduce Eddie to promotion? Not sure if bad for pay-per-view market long term. It didn't introduce Eddie to promotion. It introduced Eddie to the pay-per-view format on Sky. That's what that did. I don't know if you was around back then, but I'm telling you, Haye versus Klitschko damaged the pay-per-view format on Sky for a long while, a couple of years. No doubt about that. Arcs Amir Khan, Arcs Carl Froch. If you didn't see a reaction post-fight, Haye versus Harrison, I don't know where you was. I saw and heard a whole load of criticism for weeks after the fight had ended.